On May 26 through 28, 2023, Sacred Word Revealed comes to Atlanta, Georgia.
Purpose to unveil esoteric controversies. Conflicts abound in this final generation.
After many millennia of deceptive propaganda replacing truth, that's why we must join together as a remnant to sharpen one another as iron sharpeneth iron.
To test all things and to declare together openly, the Messiah is Adonai.
Get your tickets now at sacredwordrevealed.com and join us for another exciting, rejuvenating, and challenging weekend of worship, fellowship, and discussion with the truth-seeking community.
Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you again for joining us in the live broadcast. I am your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio. Tonight we're going to break up the show in two parts. The first, I'm going to be speaking with my good friend Kimberly Baker, who is our liaison for one of the fundraising efforts and our charitable efforts in Kenya in helping with an orphanage run by Robert Nyagami. I believe that's the correct way, but you can tell me if I'm wrong there, Kimberly. But anyways, we wanted to give an update and also explore an option for aiding and assisting the orphanage there, because they have they make it mandatory for all the children to go to school, and there's no homeschooling allowed. And also, it can be costly, especially if you have an orphanage where you have a number of children and you're trying to take care of all of the kids that have come to be under their care in the ministry there. And so we had an idea of, why not just, if we can do it, to get some land and build and establish a school there. And of course, we know that there's a lot of logistics to being accredited and to establishing and setting it up in a way that would be recognized by the government as legal and lawful. And so that is what we're going to be talking about in the first hour of the show. And then in the second hour, I'm going to be speaking about and breaking down from the Greek as far as 2 Peter 3, and also from the Hebrew with regard to Genesis, about how the earth became without form and void, which is something that if you missed the show that Gary and I did last night, it was a precedent which had come forth when we talked about the reign of the Dragon Lords and their connection to Atlantis and to CERN. And so it was most certainly a fascinating show, and one I do recommend that people check out and catch up on. But anyways, Kimberly, let me welcome you and to the listening audience, and if you would, can you share your whatever social media you would like, contact information, if people would like to help or to assist or find out? Because in mentioning this on a couple programs before, I've had a number of people reach out and ask about how they can help, and even people that have the know-how to do construction. They had offered to even go there to stay and to do some of these construction projects, because certainly that would be an aspect of getting the land, and also establishing the school would be building it and making those kind of facilities available. And so welcome, and if you would.
It's so great to be here with you tonight, Zen. As far as getting in touch with me, I guess you can reach me on Facebook at Kimberly Montgomery Baker on Facebook in Arkansas. And then my email address, I have a couple, but the easiest one is bakerkimberly@outlook.com. bakerkimberly@outlook.com. And you can absolutely send me an email and get in touch with me that way. And you can, Zen, you have my phone number. If anyone comes to you, you can shoot them if they come to you, you can shoot them my phone number and they can text me or call me if they're interested in either going to Kenya and Kisi. Robert has a place to put people up there at the orphanage. Having people to help with the building projects would be an asset because it would cut down on the labor costs of building the buildings. It absolutely would. And you know that you guys we've been supporting Robert and KRCH Orphanage. You and I have actually been doing it together can you believe it's been like 9 years now?
Wow, really?
It goes by so fast.
Yeah.
You've been working with me on this for 9 years. And when we started, they had 5 kids there at the orphanage. They've now grown to 73 kids in the orphanage, which is a lot of students. And, you know, you had given them chickens a long time ago, and we have also we've donated and bought cows, and we've leased extra land twice now. We've leased it for another 5 years for them to be able to garden, which helps feed them all. But what has gotten so costly is school fees. It costs like $1,000 or $2,000 per junior and high school student to be in junior and high school per the government's fees, which can get extremely expensive when you have lots of students. And of course, as they've grown over the years. So when you and Robert came up with the idea of building a school, I really started looking into it and getting online and contacting people that have built schools there in Kenya. And you can actually make it a nonprofit. You have to hire, First, you have to get the land, which I told you that Robert had found a piece of property which is close to the orphanage. It's the closest piece. It's like right down the street from the orphanage. It's a 2.5 acre plot, but by the Ministry of Education in Kenya, they only require a 1 acre lot for a junior and high school, junior high and high school to be put on together. So we can do an acre lot. And have those built there. But once you have the land established, then you would have to hire an accountant and go ahead and hire your teachers. They don't start working right then, but you have to have them contracted and vetted by the Kenya Ministry of Education so that they're vetted in advance. So when the school actually goes up, those teachers would actually then start getting paid and go into place. To be credited. And so that's how that process works first. But first you have to have the land, then you get hire the accountant and the teachers. And once the building process goes, we have it broke down into, by Kenya law, for the high school, you have to have 4 classrooms. For the junior high, you have to have 3 classrooms and a laboratory. So it's 8 classrooms altogether, and then an office, which would be the size of a classroom for an administration office. And so that is like $32,000 to do. That's to pay for all of those classrooms. They come in $2,400 chunks. So each classroom would be a $2,400 investment. Now, if we could get people who would come and help with construction, that would cut the labor costs down on that. So that $2,400 would actually be cheaper for that phase. Now, the good news is that phase 3, which would be like laboratory supplies and office furniture and different things that they would want to add to it, that can be put into a last part. But, I remember when you first went and got chickens, we sat and we talked, and you said, we really want to try to get Robert and the orphanage self-sufficient.
Yes.
I remember that conversation, because if we can get them self-sufficient, it would help them as they grow and as they do. Well, as they've grown, they can't get self-sufficient with school supplies. But after looking at and researching building a school, then I really believe that this is a way that Robert can actually become self-sufficient in the orphanage itself. Because all of the students that have to pay school fees from the orphanage would actually get to go to school for free.
Right.
But the students, and there's like 26, so we have 26 students that are from the orphanage at this moment that are junior high and high school. They would go to school for free. But you open it up to the people that are in Kesey. So the students that are in Kesey that are going to public school could then come to this private school, and the fees that they paid in public school, they would just continue to pay in the private school. And that would pay for the supplies that are needed for the school. It would pay for the teachers. It would pay for the accountant. But the excess, if you made it a nonprofit private school, they have profit private schools and nonprofit private schools in Kenya. If you made it a nonprofit private school, then the proceeds that were above all the expenses could actually go back into KRCH and fund the orphanage itself, which to me is what we've been trying to do all these years, is to help them become self-sufficient.
Right, exactly. Yes, we'll go into the background a little bit of how we initially met and tell the story of, when we first came together, because after this, but I'm so glad you did all of your research on this and that you have all of this information, ready for the audience. And because when we first met initially, when I talked with Robert, they, as you said, they were very small and they were just starting to gather momentum. But Robert was spending a lot of money just on getting meals to feed the children. And so I was looking for idea for resolution even back then. And so the idea of, purchasing chickens and farm animals, as you also later assisted with, and helping them to be able to, have that as a way to barter and also trade. But of course, going from 5 to 73 is a lot different. And, being that large now and having that many children to look after, that is quite a lot of effort. And so, as we said, with all the fees for schooling, and we have the wide range, going all the way from very young children, even like babies, or near that newborn or that kind of age, and all the way to high school. Robert's been a great help for a number of people, and also for those that are interested, if you want to see photos and stories actually posted and written by some of the individuals, the children themselves, you can find that at Endeavor Freedom on Facebook, the Endeavor Freedom group. There are stories and posts from all the different orphanages that we help in both Kenya and Uganda and India and Myanmar. And so, but Kimberly has been helping with Robert in Kenya, and it's very interesting because I was already involved in assisting another individual there, and found out a long time ago that this individual wasn't even legit, and that he was really scamming us and using Facebook as a portal for that kind of scamming. And so when I learned, and Kimberly and Robert being there on the ground, Kimberly, you said you had been there one time, or did you actually go there one time? Um,
I
anyways,
have not had the privilege to go yet.
okay, but in some manner, you were able to confirm for me that this other individual, and I'm not going to mention names and go into it in that way. But anyways, we found out that this individual was not legit. And so Kimberly was working with Robert, and I joined them in those efforts. And as she said, it's been 9 years since that time. But if you would, can you kind of tell your side of the story of how you got involved with Robert and why it was that you and your mother um, decided to assist and have, put a lot of money and effort into helping them over the years as well?
Well, I actually have been on my spiritual journey for quite some years, and I've grown in my spiritual journey with Creator. And in that time, I've gone through all the different church systems. But when I've pulled out of church and began to, go through the scriptures and learn more and find Sabbath and the lunar Sabbath and all of the all of the different things in my growing process, there was not a congregation or anybody that believed any of the things that I now believed. And that's actually how I found you. I found you on YouTube all those years ago, actually longer than 9 years ago, probably more like 10 or 11. And one of the ladies on my Facebook, she had talked about a small orphanage that was also a church, that was a Baptist church, that had gone Torah observant and started following the feasts and following the Sabbath and all of those things. And they lost their whole congregation, and they had 5 kids in the orphanage. And that's how they were being supported at the time. And they were starving. And it was Robert. And so my mom and I immediately got into contact with him. And they said, had we not gotten contact with them, they had literally already had their last meal and was just waiting to starve to death. And we contacted them after they had already eaten their last meal and gone without food for a whole day. And we immediately got funds to them. And we've been supporting them ever since. But back then, food was a major issue. And so was water. We were constantly having to pay for clean water, because the creek water that they were drinking, they always were coming with malaria and typhoid, and we were having to get them medicines. And probably about 3 or 4 years later, I'm sure you remember, we got together and built a well. And so they were the first well that was actually built in Kesey, the little town in Kesey. And so their community has clean water now, and it's there at the orphanage. But that's how I actually got involved with him, was through a friend on Facebook. And I didn't tithe anymore because I didn't have a church anymore. So all of my tithes plus extra, sending money has been going into the orphanage ever since. And it's just been a blessing to see from where they started to where they are now, and to where I just believe that they're going to go,
Yes, absolutely. And that's the exciting part of it as well, is because I see the evolution of the journey and what's possible, like yourself, and to have, because I know a lot of people that are in doing a walk, a spiritual walk like yourself, myself, that we really, in following the scriptures, we want to help the orphan and the widowed, and to take care of those that are less fortunate. That is a call, that is a commandment by the Most High. And the true church works that way. That the Most High has established that in giving to others, we are also blessed in similarity. That abundance in the way that He has established the creation, and also charity and being kind and loving to others and doing good for the sake of good. Uh, all these things built into the commandments. Even Yahushua told us that the greatest was to love your Lord like you love yourself and like you love your neighbor. And even, we're commanded to love our enemies. And so that is the beauty of abundance and charity. And myself, I did not know, and I had, at that time been scammed already for a number of years and didn't realize that I was helping somebody that was unjustified in, what they were asking, what they were receiving, and to find somebody and to find a cause to support, like you had helped us and led us to, in being able to give to something that was real and people that were really in need and that have been for a very long time. And that, Robert has been growing and taking care of others and expanding that help to not just the orphans that are there, but as you said, to the community. And with the well and the clean water, what a huge difference that has made on the lives of all those that are surrounding, and benefiting from clean water. I mean, something that, most people, a lot of people in the world just overlook and don't even uh, realize the privilege of having clean water and being able to drink and not get sick. What an awesome blessing that is, and so to have food also, to not starve or not be hungry, and shelter and a space that is safe where you can come and you can share, break bread with others and laugh. And for the young ones that end up being there and, deposited by families or circumstances and situations that lead them to be abandoned or to not have support, and to have Robert there to be able to help them and to love them and to be kind to them, and also to teach them as far as the scriptures and, all the things that we learn from the commandments and the gospel. I mean, he's also aiding them in their spiritual walk and journey into this life, and that is irreplaceable. That's something that you can't not put a price upon. And for those that have looked into or have examined with regard to what's going on in Africa and all over, even here in America, that there are voodoo cults, the rise of paganism, the worship of the ancient gods. All of these things are coming to the forefront in this generation. Even Jonathan Kahn, he wrote a book recently about, the unholy trinity and how the pagan deities, the ancient aliens, and the the those that used to rule in ancient times, how all of that is coming back to the forefront. And so to have a true Christian orphanage and ministry there, that's like having a light, on the hill. And so for those that want to assist and to help with, what we're trying to do, uh, I hope that you can see the dream, as Kimberly and I do, and that you will support us in manifesting and making this happen and making this be a huge blessing for those that are on the ground, and Robert and his family. His wife is also involved, his children, and that, of course, 73 others is a giant extended family, and that he's doing all that he can to really provide for and to care, and is openly, open arms, accepting others that are also finding themselves in struggle and need and challenged by this time. And they just went through all the COVID stuff and the C-19 and everything as well, and that greatly affected the areas and also with what they had to go through and struggle. Um, and so, Kimberly, we got just a minute before break, but would you care to comment before we pick it up on the other side?
Yes, and the one thing I would say is that if you decide to partner with us and give, I can promise you, Yah, Creator, will bless you and give back to you 100-fold in ways you wouldn't even imagine.
Yes, without a doubt. And as I said, that is the way that the Most High works, is that He provides the abundance to all of us so that those that do have in the heart of kindness and charity, in sharing and taking care of the orphans and the widows as we've been commanded, that you will reap what you sow and that you will also receive blessing. All right, we'll be right back, everyone.
Make a list of the things you want. And on my list of things, now I put everything. Little things as well as major things. Doesn't matter how small it is, it goes on my list. And the reason is, part of the fun of having a list is checking it off. Boy, at the end of the day, if you can go, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it, whatever it is, right? You get into the habit. So load up your list, the things you want. Now, when you check off something major, celebrate. That's an important point to make. Celebrate your achievements. Live it up. Have a party when you reach something you've worked for a while. See, we all grow from two experiences. One is called the pain of losing. The other one is called the joy of winning. We need both of them. Amplify them as much as you can, which also means make losing painful. If you set up something, fooled around, didn't get it, put it on yourself. On the other side, if you did get it, congratulate yourself. Self-congratulations is a sign of
From the dawn of man, we have turned to nature to help attain balance within ourselves. But somewhere, we lost our way. Western culture is once again remembering the healing benefits.
On May 26 through 28, 2023, Sacred Word Revealed comes to Atlanta, Georgia.
Purpose to unveil esoteric controversies. Conflicts abound in this final generation.
After many millennia of deceptive propaganda replacing truth, that's why we must join together as a remnant to sharpen one another as iron sharpeneth iron.
To test all things and to declare together openly, the Messiah is Adonai.
Get your tickets now at sacredwordrevealed.com and join us for another exciting, rejuvenating, and challenging weekend of worship, fellowship, and discussion with the truth-seeking community.
and stars, and imagine there's got to be planets like ours. So conceive of a face on the surface of Mars, so in need of a meaning and purpose we fall. And indeed they believe that these might be our gods, or that maybe with time we'll do right and evolve, and eventually reach what they seek, and then solve all the problems of man. But they really don't know that they fall, and the works of our hands are but just filthy rags. So we travel the lands to dig up our past. Time elapses, and with it are much of the facts. Some imagine that gods came in alien class and react in this way they're so desperate for.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, for second portion. And I do want to also mention, for those that are interested and that like to donate in this manner, that we do have a nonprofit set up called Endeavor Freedom, where you can donate to the orphanage of your choosing. And, you know, when you go to the PayPal page, you can be specific as to which orphanage you would like to donate to specifically, or in this case, you would tell us that you would want to support our efforts that we're doing in Kenya and assisting with the building and the establishment of this school, which, of course, this is going to be ongoing for a while. But we do have the ability to write you, and we do send out receipts once a year near January, when people are getting ready to do their taxes, and that we are able to provide you a receipt that is a write-off for your taxes. And in that way, it's really a win-win, and it's beneficial, you know, for those. And, you know, there's a lot of people that don't want anything in return, and that this is not at all the point that they're trying to do in assisting others. And of course, that's not our focus either. But because we were able to establish a nonprofit a very long time ago called Endeavor Freedom to help others, we're blessed to be able to extend that courtesy to those of you that are able to utilize giving in this manner. And the government has also made it beneficial for, you know, large donors to be able to give in this manner, and then also to be able to write it off in their taxes. And so this is something that, you know, the wealthy elite do themselves, as far as they set up nonprofits and charities to support their own organizations. They donate their money to those causes. And, you know, it's just, I mean, it's the way that it is. And so they have done it to help those that are privileged. But we, being able to, you know, also do the same, we're able to provide these taxable benefits for those that would like to give, and to also to, you know, it's a win-win. The charities also benefit as well as individuals. But I know a lot of people are not, you know, interested in receiving receipt or tax write-off. And God bless all of you that help and that have a pure heart, and that are, you know, of course, not trying to do anything for your own benefit, but just trying to help others. And so we thank all of you, because we do have a number of people that support us even monthly. And I can promise you that 100% of the donations that come in to Endeavor Freedom go directly to the orphanages and to supporting those charitable causes and efforts. My children, well, we started the nonprofit a long time ago, but my children are on the board, and they don't receive any money. None of the people that are involved with the administration get paid or receive any of the funding as well. Everything goes directly to the causes that we support. And so, so let me turn it back over to you, Kimberly, and give you a chance to talk about, the orphanages, and also a little bit of, as far as if you would like to fill in some of the history over the time and what you've seen as far as the growth and the changes, and what Robert and his family have been able to achieve there in Kenya. Also, your mother, if you'd like to,
well, of course, when they
bring her as part of the story as well.
Yes. So as it started with me and my mom, of course, when they was 5 of them and they had their last meal. But over the course of the past 9 years, we have been able to, at first, the first thing they needed was food and water. We would have trucks of clean water that would come in with these big tanks, and they would leave tanks of just water there for them. And we would buy 2 weeks worth of water at a time. And they would leave these big drums there for them to have water. That was actually quite an expense of doing water by truck. But that was the only thing that we knew to do at the time. So it started there. We then moved with the chickens. That's when you came in and got chickens. Then we bought cows. And so they have milk cows for milk. Then after that, the property that's behind them, which is great farming property, the owner allowed them to do a 5-year lease. And so we gathered people together and fundraised to lease the land for 5 years for them to farm so that they could have vegetables and lettuce and all kinds of gardening stuff on this land. We've now renewed that for another 5 years. I'm thinking 2 years ago, might have been 3 years ago, that we've renewed that for another 5 years. And we're hoping when it comes up again, we can just continue to renew that as leased land for them to farm so that they can have food. After that, we did the well. That was a big project. The well cost us like $55,000-$60,000. That was a huge project. And it started off with my tax return. I got my tax return, and I was a single parent at the time. And I literally gave my entire tax return to have them tested. By law, you have to test to even see if a well could go in on their property and where it would go. And it was like $2,200 to do the testing. And I just told Robert, I was like, I have no idea. I don't have the money for a well, but I have my tax return. So I just gave it as a seed of saying, I don't know where you're going to bring the money from. Yeah, but it'll come. And sure enough, a year later, we had a well, and I couldn't believe it. I was a single mom making, nothing hardly, and he just made it happen. So the well was a big deal for the entire community. But then after that, the boys' house had fallen down, and they had been growing. Now they went from 5, and then we went to 20, and then we went to like 30. So, they're growing kids as we go. And so the boys' house had collapsed, and we had gathered the money to build a boys' house and an outside kitchen. And they have a showering area now that we also had built an outdoor. It's for us, it would be outdoor, but if you look at the pictures and stuff, it's almost like a shed. They built like a wood shed type thing. And from the well, they did a makeshift shower thing with like a hose. So they were able to bring it to where they have shower hoses so they can shower, which is amazing. That's awesome.
Yes, that's awesome.
And so that has been built there as well. Now, the girls' house, since I've talked to you last, the girls' house has actually collapsed. And we're in the process of trying to figure out what we need to do exactly to rebuild the girls' house. But the school fees at this moment are just overwhelming. So what has happened, the congregation that his congregation had left, but now he's built an entire new congregation with those who observe Sabbath and observe Scripture and have gotten on with what Scripture says and follow the whole Word. And in fact, it was, I think, 2 or 3 months ago, they had like 58 people baptized out there. They're
awesome.
having like huge revival. In fact, all of the people that were against him and were coming against him, it was supposedly religious people that were coming against him. And of course, you have your cults and other things that come against him too. But he's actually made himself a staple in the community. And a lot of those people who were his enemies, quote, back then, and who were making up lies and casting judgment for, not being Baptist anymore. Many of those people, he said it was humbling to see many of those people now coming back, and the lives have been changed and now are being baptized, and coming more into the alignment of truth and leaving those false deities and stuff behind. Anyway, that has been an amazing thing to watch too, that not only is the orphanage itself growing and those things happening, but the community in that area is also growing as well. And growing in the light, as you would say,
right?
And truth and all kinds of things.
That's amazing.
Just as a mention, he took a walk. Robert took a journey walk not too long ago where he walked. He walked. I don't even remember how many miles it was. It was like 2 weeks of a journey, walk where he met so many people, and it just seemed like everywhere he went, God just brought him to those who were in need, and we were able to help people that were in need that met his path over that 2-week journey. And it was I've never seen anyone do that before, but he felt called to do it, and that was an interesting time, almost like Paul or one of those old apostle guys, just taking a journey.
That's awesome.
So anyway, so that's kind of where things have grown to, but now we're to the point of school fees and building a school. But the school won't just be for the kids at KRCH. Like I said, it will actually be a school for the community. And that piece of property that is just down the street, another interesting thing, because the only water in the community is from the well that we built, because that property is just down the street from the orphanage, they will be able to get the clean water to the school there at that piece of property just down the street.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like, the whole setup is there, and that the Most High is encouraging us to make this happen in this way. And so my prayer is that somebody who is listening or will hear the archives will be interested in joining us in this cause and this effort, and that we're able to achieve, the first thing is we want to raise the funds for at least 1 acre of land, which Kimberly, you said that would be between $11,000 and $12,500, and that this would be the parcel that would be necessary to then establish a nonprofit educational facility there, and that once the land is gathered, then we're able to build and to create and to construct the other aspects of what would be necessary to establish this as an education center. And so I do pray that somebody that is listening, that has the means, that wants to help, and that wants to, support a real cause in this way, because it's not just, you know, the education, but as Kimberly said, the outreach of the ministry there, that Robert is really affecting lives and making changes. And we see this happening in a lot of the orphanages and the involvement that we have in the other areas with the other countries and the other orphanages that we have established in other places as well. That it's a beautiful uh, effect in the way that the the power and the will of the Most High is able to perpetuate and to grow and to continue to affect, and to have the children see and also have their lives touched and influenced in this manner. And just as you said, like with the orphanage that we have established in Myanmar, in India, that the people around them were largely Buddhists and were untrusting of the Christian community that was being established, and they used to try to sabotage our efforts and to come against them. But now they are intertwined and accepting, and they have come together to grow vegetables and crops and to teach the children how to sustain themselves in that manner. And so it's a joyous occasion, and it's a beautiful effort amongst all those that are within the area, and they really trust in this case, it's Jacob Naugong, but in similarity to what Robert is doing there in Kenya, you really see the beauty of the influence of what is Christian charity, and how, again, the Most High has established that we as the church and the individuals that make up the faith and that are part of the body of Christ in helping others, that it pays itself forward and it continues to grow, and it shows in example what it is, for us to be disciples and believers in the Most High in this manner. And that is an awesome thing, because that's the way that, it continues, because it's been all throughout the history that the stories of charity and Christians overcoming and doing things that are just beautifully kind, and even putting their lives at risk to help others, in the same way that the Savior did for us in dying on the cross to extend salvation to all of us. Then when the apostles asked him who was greatest amongst them, and how he bent the knee to wash their feet and showed to them that we are to serve each other, to be humble and to be servants to one another, to love each other in kindness and to have that regard for each other. And so, there's no greater example than to give and to support the charity and the cause of helping others, especially those that are less fortunate. So let me turn it back over to you, Kimberly, and give you a chance to comment as well.
Yes, and not only, of course, does it help us financially when we give, somehow money always comes back to us. My
Right.
mom always says, you can't outgive God. I've
Yes.
actually watched my mom give everything she had to something, and then she wouldn't have anything left. But then within 2 days, she'd have double back, and it would be someone sent her a check in the mailbox or just some
Mm-hmm.
crazy stuff that would happen. And yeah, you can't outgive him. And it's just interesting. Not only does it help us grow financially for ourselves, but it also opens the portal for our spirit man to grow as well when we aid in serving others.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
absolutely
absolutely.
does.
Yeah, that is the beauty of it, and the blessing and the reap what you sow, is that the Most High takes care of those of us that do support and that give to others in this way. That you find that when you are in need and when you are struggling, and Lord knows all of us go through this. There's going to be a time in your life when you are going to need the help of others. And in supporting and growing up and helping others, uh, I find that the Most High is there to provide somebody that is able to give you the support that you need in your time of need. And so, again, it's beautiful in the way that it works that way. But I also just want to acknowledge and thank all of you that have reached out and that have supported us over the years. I never knew that I would ever be in a situation where I would be able to help others in this way, and also to be a catalyst for people to be so kind and to give and to donate to us in the way that you have. I I mean, I'm literally blown away that people send us money to give to others and that also want to support us. It's so kind that you find us, you know, uh, real, and that you would want to help myself or my family or the charitable causes that we also support. It's such a very touching thing, um, to have your aid in that manner. And so I thank all of you, and you know who you are, because as I said, we do have people that monthly reach out and give to us, and that make it a point that we don't even mention them, don't even speak about them, or didn't even talk about them. They don't want anybody to know about their efforts, but the Most High knows what you guys are doing for all of these kids and all of these families, and all of these people that really need our help and support. And so I thank all of you again for your kindness. It's a beautiful thing. But anyways, can you mention again, just your mother's efforts? And I can see that it's a beautiful thing that she leads you an example, and that you've seen her, her involvement with this as well. Um, she still is she in direct contact with Robert at the orphanage? And
Absolutely. In fact, when the boys' house, the first boys' house that we built, it was just it barely had walls, and it had just the tin sheeting. My mom actually had the first boys' house and first girls' house built. She built them, her and my dad. So he named them after my parents.
oh, that's
The
awesome.
Jim Smith boys' home and the Barb Smith girls' home. And at the time, it was just the wood post with the tin, and that's what we could afford at the time, since it wasn't a big fundraiser type thing. The boys' house now is brick. We've now built a brick boys' house, but the girls' house, of course, we're still need to do. But my mom, she is she's just an amazing woman, and yes, she's been there helping. So we're in contact with Robert pretty much at least 2 or 3 times a week. We through Messenger, we speak mostly either through Messenger calling or Messenger typing. It seems to go best for for connectivity in that area. But anyway, yeah, she's been with me in that the whole time. And I learned all of that from her. I used to always, well, she would always find people and like go and buy people groceries when I was a kid. I watched her, and just helping people in our town. It wasn't anything for her. For someone that was hungry or needed something, we'd run to the store and just buy them a big basket full of groceries and take them home. It was a good blessing to be able to watch that as a child. And in my adulthood, I had told you that I gave that $2,200 out of my tax return. The interesting thing is as a single mom, for me at that time when I did that, I really didn't have the extra money to do that. I needed it, but I actually could have used it, and I had struggles for the next couple months after that with food, of buying like groceries. And the interesting thing is I had people just give me money or give me groceries.
Hold on, hold on. I want you to stay with me in the next portion as well. Okay. All right. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth.
On May 26 through 28, 2023, Sacred Word Revealed comes to Atlanta, Georgia.
Purpose to unveil esoteric controversies. Conflicts abound in this final generation.
After many millennia of deceptive propaganda replacing truth, that's why we must join together as a remnant to sharpen one another as iron sharpeneth iron.
To test all things and to declare together openly, the Messiah is Adonai.
Get your tickets now at sacredwordrevealed.com and join us for another exciting, rejuvenating, and challenging weekend of worship, fellowship, and discussion with the truth-seeking community.
Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for a second hour. I did just want to speak a little bit more into this portion about the charitable efforts that we're trying to establish a school there in Kenya, and to just kind of revisit for those that are just joining us that may not have listened to the first portion and do not know what we're talking about. But there is a website that you can visit. It's called Keumbu Rehema, and it's spelled Keumbu, and Rehema is another second word, Rehema, Children's Home. And you can also donate and sponsor children directly from the website if you so like to do so. But again, also through Endeavor Freedom Incorporated or EndeavorFreedom.org or .com, you can go there. And also for those that would like to donate and also receive a taxable write-off, that we do have the ability to do that as a nonprofit funded here in the United States of America. And we have been in existence since 2001, so there's a long history of us doing this. And as I said, that the entire existence of Endeavor Freedom as a nonprofit, all the money that has been donated to us has gone directly out to our charitable efforts. But Kimberly, if you could, can you just give us again and tell the listening audience again what it is that we're trying to do and how they can support us, and as far as the parcel and then the secondary and third stage of our efforts and what you have discovered in doing the research.
Okay, so we are trying to build a school for I call it KRCH. It's just easier to call it instead of Keumbu Rehema, but KRCH Orphanage, for their high school and junior high school students that have to pay monthly school fees to be able to go to school, which is it's been very difficult to get that money together for them. There's 26 students that have to pay out of the orphanage that have to pay those school fees. We found a plot of land. It's in a 2.5 acre plot, but we're trying to just get 1 acre of that plot, and it would be right at $11,000 to $11,500. I don't know how their fees and stuff are on that. And it's a 1 acre plot, not far from the school. I mean, not far from the orphanage, where they can have clean water brought in to the school itself. The first thing that you have to do is you have to get the land. Once you have the land, based on the Ministry of Education for Kenya, their requirements, it's a 1 acre plot is the minimum. Once you have that, the second phase is building actually the schools. And you build them in rooms is what they're called. To me, it looks like they're just little sheds. For us, that's what it would look like your metal buildings, right? The steel metal building sheds, that's what they would be. And each one would be an individual classroom. And so those are $2,400 a piece to buy. The ministry requirements is 4 classrooms for high school, 3 classrooms for junior high, and then a laboratory, and then an administration office. And so those little pods are $2,400 a piece to build. So that's phase 2. That comes out to like right at $32,750, I think, is what that comes out to. So that's the second phase. But first, after you buy the property, you actually at that moment hire your accountant and hire your teachers so that they can be vetted through the Ministry of Education. So when the little pods are built, you can actually then start teaching, and that accountant will have to be there to monthly account all of the funds that come in and out of that school. And then the phase 3, which is like laboratory supplies and different things, that's like $35,000 for office furniture and those types of things. But our hope is that once the students start coming into the school, that the school fees from the students that are coming from inside the community, that those school fees will actually be able to pay for phase 3, so that we actually won't have to pay for phase 3. So that's the goal. So the first round would be $11,500. The second round would be right at $3,500, right in there. And then if someone wanted to come now at the orphanage, they actually have a place for if you want to come and stay and help build. People who would want to help and build and do construction. There are places there that even in their congregation that would take people in to help build and construct, because that would cut down on that $2,400 per classroom amount, because the labor would not we would have donated labor, and they would feed you and actually put you up in those places. And we've actually had people go and stay. In fact, Shelby, one of our guys, just went and came back. He spent 2 weeks there during December and stayed and was there just with all the kids and with Robert. And we've had teams that have gone in. We've had people that have gone and stayed during the summer. So if you want to help with construction, if the people want to help by giving money, however the people would want to help, we could definitely use their support.
And accommodate. That's awesome. Wanted to ask you in regard to you said the different pods, would that be, each one would be a classroom and then the one for the administrative? So would there be, like, what is it, 7 or 8 teachers? And then also, how many students per teacher and per pod would that be?
Okay, so the classroom sizes have to be exact. So I don't actually have those measurements, but it is on one of the links that I sent you, and I can have it for the next call that we have. All of their classrooms have to be square footed out. You know what I mean? Like they're so many square feet by square feet, which is the exact size pods that we're actually building. Which are square foot by square foot. So and not only that, when we get our permits to once the land's done and you hire the teachers and you hire the accountant, you go to the Ministry of Kenya and you get the permits and stuff, and they will at that point assign a representative who actually oversees the whole construction project to make sure that everything is up to code. So
awesome.
All of that is they assign someone to come in, and that way they're the one that is assigned for that whole process to make sure that it's up to code, everything is done correctly, to help us in the fact of because we don't know what we're doing, they actually guide us along in the process. And so we will have a representative actually walk us through the whole construction process right from the beginning with the ministry.
That's
so we won't screw up. And if we are screwing up, we can course correct in process. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the way it should be, right from the beginning, and guidance all the way through. And so each one of these pods would be a classroom. And you said that you could tell us the next time as to how many students each one of the pods could hold, and I'm guessing they would contain one teacher apiece. And also, is there, I guess the whole community, the males, the females, there's not a separation, that both would join in each of the classes, or is there a division? I don't know if they mandate that kind of thing. I know that in a lot of countries that are Muslim, that
males.
they separate.
Okay, so Kenya's. I don't know the Muslim population, but I think it's very low in Kenya. The boys and the girls are in the same classes now. We will, part of that $35,000 that I mentioned to build the pods, will also be building 3 toilets. 3 toilets for the boys, 3 toilets for the girls. I don't know exactly how the blueprint of that is, but that it would have bathrooms. So they would have 3 toilets for a boys' bathroom and 3 toilets for a girls' bathroom. But yes, their classrooms are mixed, boys and girls together. And I think it's, if I remember correctly, I think it's 32 students per class, because you are dealing in high school. In elementary school, the class sizes have to be smaller.
Smaller, right.
So the class sizes, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I will have that I have that information and have had that information up, but I think it's 32 per classroom size.
Okay, awesome. I just, wanted to, as much particular that we can give to the listening audience and those that would potentially join us in these efforts. I want to definitely help to provide as much of that as possible. And I do thank you, Kimberly, for, joining me also on such short notice, and to do the work that we've been doing together for such a very long time. And I do pray that we're able to succeed in helping Robert and to helping the community over there with, this whole dream that we're trying to make manifest. And I do believe that without a doubt, the Most High is going to support us and bless us and to make this possible. And I do know that there's somebody out there, even right now, maybe that listens to the archives, that is going to be touched in a way that will want to join us in those efforts. And again, I did provide the website if you would like to reach out to the KRC Children's Home and the orphanage there. It's KEUMBUREHEMA children'shome.org. And so, thank you again, Kimberly. Is there anything else that you would like to say or to cover? And you might as well, hang on to the end of this portion. We've only got like 12 minutes anyway. So, but yeah, if you would, just anything else that we might have not said or not covered. And again, I do appreciate all your efforts. Anything that you want the listening audience to know or encouragement, we appreciate you.
I just want to thank everybody. Over the years, you've had such a great team of people that have donated and helped all the orphanages and all of the charitable things that you've had going. And I'm grateful that you've been partnered with us all this time, and that your listening audience has. And Zen, I'm also grateful to you, because you have taught me so much over the years as well, spiritually and historically, and just great books. I've bought so many books that you've introduced me to over the years. Probably my favorite one was Oasfi. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, I do.
But that's probably my favorite over the years. But I'm just so grateful. And I had mentioned at the last break that even if you don't think that you have much to give, you may be like I am. I was a single mom, and paycheck to paycheck, and I gave my tax return for a well so that we could fundraise $50,000, and I didn't know how it was going to come in. And at the time, Zen, you actually didn't really help us with the well at that time. You were you helped us with the chickens and other things, but y'all brought it from a different route. But I did want to mention that during that time, it took us a year to do that. And during that time, I struggled with groceries as a single mom. And I'm telling you, people would just be bringing me food and just say, they didn't even know I was struggling. And during Sukkot, I wanted to go to Sukkot somewhere else because I didn't have the ability of a congregation. I lived out in the country and there was nothing near me. And a lady just gave me $300 and said, I don't know why I'm supposed to give this to you, but she just did. And this was all during the time that we were believing and raising money for a well. And it enabled me to go to Sukkot. And that is where I met my husband, who I have now.
Awesome.
And it was
Wow.
all during that time of building a well. And so not only will you be blessed in financial ways, but y'all will do some supernatural things when you start, when you begin to work on something that's bigger than yourself and bigger than you think you can give. And I just want to speak out to those that think, well, I live paycheck to paycheck. Well, I do too. And it's just amazing what y'all can do with just a little bit of faith. The faith as a mustard seed and a giving as a mustard seed can grow into such a beautiful, one of the largest trees out is a mustard tree,
Right. Yes.
Anyway, so I just want to encourage people that when you get involved in something that's so much bigger than yourself, that it blesses you in so many different ways.
That was a beautiful story. And yes, it's like Luke chapter 21, of the widow, I mean, not the widow, but the poor woman that just gave the 2 mites, and how everybody, that Yahushua spoke about how great was her giving, in that she shared what she could. And even though it was what seemed to be, in the Pharisees' eyes, a minuscule amount, it was huge. And like you said, when you give what you can, you just don't know the way that the blessings are going to come back. And the Most High continues to support the faith and those that are in need, the Christians that are in need, that are part of the body of Christ, that the left hand takes care of the right foot, and on and so on and so forth. And it's just beautiful how it works that way, that in love and charity we support each other. And that's the beautiful thing about those that are true disciples of the faith, is that we feel in our heart the need to just give and to support others, and just helping anybody that might come across our path that is in need. It's a beautiful thing to be able to just do random acts of kindness and to give. And so it's awesome that you met your husband and were able to do and support and follow Sukkot, and that's just such a beautiful thing. And definitely send my my love to your mother and your parents and your husband as well. And we will see where this goes. This is the first moments of our sending out this prayer, and to see how the Most High blesses it and supports it, and to see what it becomes. But in my mind, who knows how long it's going to take to build this school, but I do believe that is what is going to come forth and come about from this show, and your efforts and my efforts, and the hopes and dreams and prayers that Robert and the community are also pointing forth in carrying up to the throne room of Yah. So again, those that would like to help out and to support us, you can do so through Endeavor Freedom, and that we are able to write the taxable write-offs for your donations. and that if you do use a PayPal or the website to donate, to please specify that you are wanting to support the Kenyan Orphanage, KRCH, and the building, the establishment of this school. And that is our hope and our focus for doing this. But it's amazing, Kimberly, also that you said that you have been just a listener of mine, and I told you that, I didn't, when I first started doing shows back in 2006, I had no idea that this is what it would grow to, and that we would have people listening to us on a weekly basis, and that I would end up being a host on two of the largest networks on the internet and on the web, and to have this diverse listening audience, and to be able to reach these communities of truth seekers is it's just an amazing thing how it all comes together. And wow, it's just so wow. And so I'm grateful to do this journey with you, and to walk with you, and to find even those that are in the chat room right now on our YouTube channel, and that do come and listen each night. It's an awesome thing for us to be able to fellowship like this and to support each other, because the walk to awakening, the journey to awakening, is sometimes a lonely one. And so, would you care to comment before the next break?
Yes, I just want to say thank you to you, Zen. And way back then when I reached out to you, and contacted you way back then as just a listener, not knowing how to help support Robert. We had been doing it as a family, but he needed more help than we could just do by ourselves. And I reached out to quite a few of the different programmers that I listened to on YouTube, and I will say that you were the only one that responded to me. None of them ever responded to me, and so I'm so grateful, and just your humble heart and your heart to give, and your heart to just even respond and to partner. I'm really grateful for that you did get back to me and have partnered with us all this time, because there's so many out there that have a platform and don't use it in the way that you do. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you as well. And yeah, it's amazing, for you reaching out to us and also giving us a direction. I thank you for giving us direction to be able to support and our listeners, because they want to help people that are real and that are like themselves, not seeking to be at the head of the table like the Pharisees, or not to be boastful in what they're doing in helping others. They just want to quietly and in kindness to just support people that are truly in need. And you helped us to provide that. And it was our first, I told you we had been helping somebody that was a scammer initially, but to really have somebody that is trustworthy, and that to have an effort like we've been doing over the years, and to watch it grow and develop, it's an incredible thing. It's been a blessing unto our lives as well. And so we thank you, and thank the Most High, for bringing us together in this way, and allowing us to do what we do, and to continue to do it. And so, yeah, we thank you as well. Any last words for the listening audience? And we have about 3 minutes.
Just that I'm excited, and I'm just looking forward to what Yah is going to do. I mean, every project we've done, we've just watched him do great things. And this is the biggest project we've done. with KRCH Orphanage. And so I'm just excited, and I'm expectant of seeing what he does in KRCH and with the school there. And it will be the first junior high and high school in Kesey. At this moment, to my knowledge, the students there have to actually travel outside of Kesey to go to junior high and high school. So this will be the first one there. Anyway, I'm just excited and expectant not only to see what he does there in Africa and Kenya, but I am expecting to get reports of what he's doing in other people's lives that partner in this, and just watching how y'all unfolds things.
Yes,
So,
I am as well. And yeah, I challenge people to share those stories as well, afterwards. Those of you that do decide to join us in these efforts and to support Robert and the establishment of the school there. And that's awesome, the first junior high and high school. Thank you again, Kimberly. We appreciate you, sister.
Thank you, Zan.
Be blessed. All right, hold on, everybody, for final.
You well.
Somebody should tell us right at the start of our lives that we're dying. And we might live life to the limit. Every minute of every day. Whatever you want to do it now. There are only so many tomorrows. I say to you that if you're driven by anything other than your love and your spirit, your desire to grow and expand, if you're driven by your need to please others, if you're driven by your fear, if you're driven by your past, it's time to free yourself. And the way to do it is decide. Decide consciously what you want your life to be about.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
True initiation is an inward journey. It's a spiritual path that is totally inward. It has nothing to do with anything external to you.
I want to determine if the grand architect is indeed what I believe it to be, which is the artificial intelligence.
The initiatory path is one of self-discovery and self-revealing. It's not a journey that someone can hold your hand through.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take you through the steps of initiation. Remember, you are divinity.
Step Beyond the Veil with Chris and Sherry Gio. Fridays and Saturdays, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are EFR, your protection from deception.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your patience and for listening in. And I was going to do the entire second hour on, the earth becoming without form and void, which I will go into now. But, I think it's important and that we do, bring on individuals like Kimberly who have been working with us as ministry, as family, and that you are able to see, the our efforts, which we don't really talk a lot about. I mean, you do know that we support, these 4 orphanages around the world, but we don't do a lot where we have individuals on and talk directly about those struggles and also those blessings and how they've come about. And so Kimberly and I have been friends for a very long time, and she's been just an awesome, liaison for us in supporting Robert and the Kenyan orphanage. And so I thought it was important that we, bleed over into the other portion. And so again, I thank you. And I just wanted to share what Lisa said um, in the chat. She said, "Thank you so much, brother, for having Kimberly on the show. It is so motivating to see what giving to help orphans will do." And yeah, it is a beautiful thing. Also, I want to mention that Stephanie Duncan, who is also in the chat, she helps us and works with us to support the Ugandan orphanage as well. And she has been, um, working with us to give to that other aspect and that other side of it. And so, thank you, Stephanie, for all that you have done, sister, and in that regard as well. And we'll bring you on sometime in one night to kind of tell your story and to also get more support for what you are doing over there as well. And so, but again, for those that are listening that want to hear the word of the Most High and to catch a little bit of that, I will go ahead and pick up with just a little excerpt that I took here from, because I think it's important, because I've heard, there are other ministries out there that are teaching that there's not this first world age and that there's nothing to what we have been covering with regard to the antediluvian age. And, I don't know really how you can deny this when you see all the ancient ruins all over the world, and especially those cyclopean megalithic structures and cities which are and were built at a time when the water levels were completely different, and before there was this worldwide, the melting of the ice age, and then the shifting and the drowning, the submergence of what was so many land structures. Like there used to be a land bridge from India over to Indonesia, and there used to be a lot of very ancient constructions and civilizations that lived in those particular areas where, what remains are nothing more than islands. But even on these islands, there are, very ancient structures, and the ancient stories and tales of demigods that once lived and went to war with each other in those areas. Certainly the Vedic, the stories of the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana and others repeat these ancient stories. And also here, in the Americas, the there's so much very interesting as far as the ancient tales that are told by the native peoples about the giants and the children of the Nephilim, um, the red-haired cannibal giants that lived here in this portion of the world, and that even up to the late 1800s were the arch nemesis of the Paiute Indians and other native tribes. There's stories of, these ancient ones, these giants, going back to the times again of Atlantis, because it was the Titans, the Olympians, it was these huge statured people that lived and ruled over what were even um, the hominids that the Most High had established in the First World Age, and even with the pre-Adamites mentioned in Genesis 1:26 through 28, that were created and placed on the earth as couples, and the many races that we see in pictures like in Egypt, that these particular deities, and in Sumeria, they're sitting on their thrones, and the individuals, the servants that are bringing them food and drink, and that are uh, basically indentured slaves to them, they only stand as tall as their knees. And, I made mention of the discovery of Gilgamesh's tomb there in Iraq before the war was instituted. And I believe, without a doubt, Babylon was the first region they went, and they established and took out all that they could find in that particular region. But the tomb of Gilgamesh had just been discovered. And then the German archaeologists, were ushered away and told that an invasion was happening, and they had to get out of there, and couldn't really do much as far as excavations after, what was the most incredible find of their entire lives, and to not be able to really go through it or to examine it and look at it in the way that I'm sure they had wanted. The way Howard Carter went through the tomb of King Tut. Um, and so, and I'm actually, at some point, I'm going to do a show about some of the ancient history here of America, and how fascinating it is. There's stories of even, Montezuma, the Aztec king, hiding his treasure in the hoards, the massive amount of gold that they had and that they brought, because they were originally from the Americas before establishing the kingdoms there in Mexico, and he was led by a vision to the area where they established their kingdom there before returning. And it was said that they had went and waged a war with what were the Knights of Templar here in America, and that this was because the Knights Templar had run, they were being hunted down in France. They were betrayed, and so they had to find a place to go. And not only Oak Island does it have connections to the Knights Templar and the Freemasons, the Sinclairs and all of that, but also they were here in America, and they were establishing, and they had brought a lot of the treasures that they had discovered under Solomon's temple when they were successful in in doing the Crusader wars and gaining access to that land. And that the whole reason they did that was to gain access to the Temple Mount, that they had this scroll, the copper scroll, that showed where all these buried treasures were, and that a lot of that was brought here to America. And at some point, I'll share the story of this individual that claims that he was able to discover this treasure hoard. And he shares the story with an individual named Terry Carter, who lives in, I believe, in Utah, and has looked into the stories of Brewster's Cave and how this individual named John Brewster had discovered these two Nephilim, king and queen, their burial chambers, and all these ancient artifacts and books and plates that were made of gold, copper, and iron and silver. And I mean, the story is just absolutely mind-blowing. But there's so much of that here in America. In fact, when the pioneers first moved in, and when the native people were here, when they started to farm the land, there was all these ancient structures, these mounds, and there are still mounds. And like, for instance, there's what's called the Etowah Mound here in Georgia. And these mounds were said to contain the burial chambers and the skeletons of giants. And that a lot of them had these ancient artifacts of the armor and, the weaponry and just, the ancient remnants of these giants, and are confirmation of the scriptures, because the Bible tells us about the giants. Now they were 6 fingers, 6 toes, with double sets of teeth, and so all these stories are absolutely amazing, and they do connect to the antediluvian age. But just really quickly, in talking about the earth becoming without form and void, because I know we're quickly running out of time, I always allude to 2 Peter chapter 3, because this is the key. It says, "For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men." And so there, whereby the world that then was, that, and how it says here that the heavens, by the word of God, the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. So 2 Peter is speaking about the destruction of the first world age and how it was and who knows, is this the ice age when all the water levels changed and everything was drowned? I don't necessarily think so, only because it was not destroyed completely, and the animals having the need to recreate, that there was a greater destruction that came about from the war in heaven. But again, even the shifting of the levels of the water, that would have without a doubt destroyed a lot of the ancient inhabitants. And who knows if that came about in swift succession? Was it, like the destruction of Atlantis, something that happened in a single night and in a single day, the way that Atlantis was said to be destroyed in an evening? When you look up some of the words there in the Greek, the word old, expale, it means long ago, of a long time, for a long while, or of old. The word standing out, synastao, to set together by implication, to introduce favorably or figuratively to exhibit, intransitively to stand near or to constitute. The water, the word hoder, hydor, it means literally or figuratively, as in rivers, fountains, pools, the water of the deluge, earth's repositories, water as the primary element, out of and through which the world that was before the deluge arose and was compacted, of the waves of the sea, used of many people, that then was, at the time, that of the past or future. So overflowed, katakalizo. It says, to dash, wash down, by implication a deluge, overflow to overwhelm with water, and submerge. And then, the word perished is very important. Apolemai. It says, to destroy fully, to perish or lose, literally or figuratively, destroy, die, lose, mar, perish, to put out of the way entirely, to abolish, to put an end to, ruin, to render useless, to kill, to declare that no one must be put to death, to declare that one must be put to death. Metaphor, to devote or give over to eternal misery in hell, to perish, to be lost, ruined, destroyed. So, that where it speaks about the world that then was being overwhelmed and perished, it was destroyed in finality. It was destroyed in a complete manner. And so, looking at that phrase, it means, according to the translation of the Greek, in the distant past, the earth that then existed, overflown, dashed, washed down, and overwhelmed in, with, and by water, implication a deluge. This landscape was fully destroyed in submergence, put out of the way entirely, abolished, lost, marred, perished, and ended in ruin. That world that then was rendered useless, killed, devoted, and given over to eternal misery. I mean, that's pretty heavy. And so the earth becoming without form and void, there's more to it than people are giving credence for. And so, in 2nd Ezra, it says, and I said, O Lord, thou spakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and saidest thus, let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. It also says in Isaiah 45:18 that the Lord had created the world to be inhabited. And so a perfect work, that's not the destruction that we see being spoken about by Peter. And also, when you look at the sentence of without form and void in the King James chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. He created it there perfect, a perfect work, as is said by Ezra. And then, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. When you look at those words, and the earth was without form and void, in the Hebrew, it means that the earth became or becomes without form. The word without form is tohu wabohu, And it literally means that the earth became a deserted wasteland and an indistinguishable ruin. And so something occurred between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2. Because here, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He created it perfect and to be inhabited. And it was established that way before it was destroyed. And so the word tohu, it means to lie waste, a desolation, desert, a worthless thing, in vain, confusion, an empty place, without form, nothing, not, vain, vanity, waste, wilderness. And the word also implies that which is wasted or laid waste, a destruction, a desolate city, a deserted wasteland. The word bohu means, and again, the importance of looking at these things, studying the Greek and the Hebrew to get a better understanding. The word bohu, which is, void, it means empty, a vacuity, an undistinguishable ruin, emptiness, and void. So you see ruin and a destroyed place. That implies something occurred. Something happened which led to it being in that shape and in that manner. I'll read from the Targum. In the Targum it says, at the beginning, min avela, the Lord created the heavens and the earth was vacancy and desolation, solitary of the sons of men, meaning without men, and void of every animal. And darkness was upon the face of the abyss, and the spirit of mercies from before the Lord breathed upon the face of the waters. So here it's telling us that not only was there no humans, no hominids, there was no creatures, void of every animal. And so it tells us again that word perished. It means that the earth was vacancy, desolation, solitary of the sons of men, and void of every animal. That's completely destroyed, in my opinion. And so you can't say, I mean, again, people declare what they want, but when you look at the Hebrew and you look at the Greek, and just from what 2 Peter says and from what is being implied by Genesis, in my mind, without a doubt, it is talking about the destruction of the first world age. And remember, that was done by water. And this world age will be destroyed by fire. And Peter goes into that as well, how we look for a new heaven and a new earth as a result that the heavens and the earth will be destroyed by fire, because Christ is coming down to the earth, and he's going to his judgment, the wrath of God being poured out on the wicked. That is when, and it's at the end of the 6,000 years before the millennial age, that this destruction by fire occurs, as I cover in my book on the pre-Adamites and the antediluvian world, and also Paradise, Sides of the North, and the Mount of the Congregation. And so I've done entire shows on this. You can look up the pre-Adamites and the antediluvian world, the world that then was, for they were willingly ignorant of. There's many, many hours and many, many shows that I've done on this topic. And, for people to deny this, it seems bizarre to me, because literally there are all these ancient cities destroyed all around the world. Pumapunku, Teotihuacan, Göbekli Tepe, all these places, and many of them are covered over, have been, covered over by not only water, by earth. All right, thank you, everybody. Good night. God bless you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.
On May 26 through 28, 2023, Sacred Word Revealed comes to Atlanta, Georgia.
Purpose to unveil esoteric controversies. Conflicts abound in this final generation.
After many millennia of deceptive propaganda replacing truth, that's why we must join together as a remnant to sharpen one another as iron sharpeneth iron.
To test all things and to declare together openly, the Messiah is Adonai.
Get your tickets now at sacredwordrevealed.com and join us for another exciting, rejuvenating, and challenging weekend of worship, fellowship, and discussion with the truth-seeking community.